Hi there, welcome to another episode of Dallas Gardens. My name is Chrissy and I am in our basement today. I need to get something out of our fruit tree tent for all the things that we're going to be pressure canning today. We are going to have a whole pressure canning session. I'm going to show you how we do it, and my goal is to have a bunch of jars for a cabinet very soon. So why don't we go check it out and I'll show you what I'm grabbing in here. What we have in here is a whole bunch of herbs in the front. Obviously we have our fruit trees in the back. So I'm coming to snag some basil. We might be putting it in with some tomatoes today. I'm also gonna be making some focaccia. Not sure if I'm gonna be recording that part, but I'm gonna need basil regardless. We also have some parsley here. I'm gonna harvest some of that. We do still have our parsley growing outside. But this stuff is just so fresh. So we have our basil, we have our parsley. You can see here we also have some salad burnet. We have lettuce. I want to say it's a cauliflower, maybe, along with some other stuff that's not quite ready yet. But we're gonna bring this upstairs and we're gonna move on to the next step. We're back upstairs now, and you can see we have some jars. These were very difficult to find this time of year, but we did it. So we're gonna get those sterilized. We're just gonna be boiling the glass for 10 minutes in water, and then the lids and rings for 5 minutes. We're gonna come over here and line them up. We have our pressure canner. We'll get that when it's time to go. And here is what we're going to be canning today. We're gonna have chicken tenderloins, some stew meat, and I took out 2 frozen bags of tomatoes. We also have another 3rd bag of fresh tomatoes. So we're gonna put these in these colanders, and as they defrost, any excess water is gonna come out, and then we'll process that on the stove. So I'm gonna get this out. I'm gonna let this all come up to room temperature. The meat is about there, so we might start with that while the tomatoes continue to defrost. Today we'll be using 2 different books for pressure canning recipes. So the first one is the one that actually came with the pressure canner. And you can see the canning recipe for cut up meat and the canning recipe for poultry on the right. They're both gonna be processed for 90 minutes. Meat's gonna be loosely packed in jars. I don't know if I'll add salt yet or not. We'll be using quart jars, so it'll be a teaspoon if we do that. So this is our first one. We're also using the Ball Complete book of home preserving. And we'll be using the tomato recipe. We'll be hot packing the tomatoes. And this is process it for 10 minutes. I've seen other recipes that say for longer, like 25 minutes. So we'll use this one today. Here's our tomato box. This is all that's left that's green, and we're waiting for it to ripen. We also have some popcorn over here, but let me show you exactly how many tomatoes we ended up with. So these are the ones from the fridge. I just processed them, just cut, stems off. Freezer, those are from the freezer. These are the ones I just went through that box and got that are ripe now. So what was the equivalent of like 4 bowls of these to put into jars. I don't know, maybe 8 jars worth of tomato sauce when we're done. We'll see. All right, we are moving. Got my next 4 in here to boil. I'm gonna bring this outside to compost. If you want, you could freeze this and make stock with it. And we have 4 jars that are ready to start getting packed. Okay, we have a good number of jars to start with here. So, went ahead and got our chicken. We bring it up to room temp because then there's less of a risk of the inside of the jar being cold. And then when the water heats up in the pressure canner, it cracks. We don't want that. So in this book, it says you can add a teaspoon of salt if you want to. We have some sea salt right here. You don't want to use table salt because it has some like anti-caking agents in it. Just use some sea salt. I think we'll get at least 2 jars. So we're gonna start with that. And then same thing with the stew meat. You do a teaspoon of salt if you want to. You don't have to. You could just raw pack it. but I do think we're gonna get at least 2 jars of chicken. So we just want something that's easy for weeknight dinners. Shredded chicken, you know. Hey, Greg.
Hello.
So you're just gonna very loosely pack it. We're not gonna push it down, nothing like that. And let me double check here. We're gonna leave a 1/4 inch headspace. We're not adding any liquid to these. Put another one in here. All right. Okay, so the might need to grab one more chicken pack. That's okay. What do you have? What do you have there?
Meat.
Nice.
Yeah, all the pork is ready.
We're smoking some food today too. So I just putting these in here. Very loose pack. So we had 3 bags of chicken. So you'll see it's gonna be a bit less than a 1/4 inch headspace. So it's the best we're gonna do. We're not adding anything else to these. We're just gonna put the lids on and put in the pressure canner. So now we're gonna fill up the rest of this with stew meat. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we washed our bowl, we washed our, whatever you call this, and we have our stew meat. So you wanna use lean meats, not really anything fat in it. Again, I'm gonna put some salt in these. Doesn't hurt. I'm gonna label it on the lids after everything is said and done that there's salt in them so I don't over salt it later. But we'll start with 2 jars. I think might get 2, maybe 3 out of this. Just gonna put our meat in. Ooh. Again, it's room temperature. We're just gonna lightly and loosely pack it. We're not gonna shove it in there. And we're not adding any liquid either. I think I'll just do the 2 jars. And if we have more, I don't think we'll have enough for a 3rd jar. Just cook it for dinner tonight. Why not? We have some other stuff in the freezer too. I could just put it in the freezer as well. Oh yeah, this will be enough. Yeah, so we'll do the 2 jars. We have a little bit left over. I forget how many pounds we bought, but this would only fill up about half a jar. So I'm just gonna hold on to this. We're gonna cook it. So we'll go ahead and throw these 4 jars in the pressure canner. So let me clean up a little bit and we'll bring you over there. So I was just looking at a recipe and I read it wrong. So 1 inch headspace. And then for the chicken, 1 1/4 inch headspace. So these are actually filled perfectly. And I didn't even realize. So we had the perfect amount of meat for those jars. So we have our sterilized lids over here. I'm just gonna go ahead and put them on. And we'll do it fingertip tight. Before I put it on all the way though, I'm gonna wipe all the rims with a clean cloth with white vinegar. Just get any potential residue out of there. And then we're gonna put it in the pressure canner. All right, we have our stuff inside the pressure canner, and we're gonna check first that this area right here, that's a vent, that we can see through it, and looking at it right now, I can. So, and it's a brand new pressure canner, so our seal around the lid, if you can see that, is fine. So now we're gonna add 3 quarts of water to this particular pressure canner. It's a 23 quart Presto pressure canner. And the directions in the booklet that comes with this say add hot water. I'm watching a lot of videos and a lot of people recommend adding water that is similar to the temperature inside your jars. So if you're cold pack jars, cold water, hot pack jars, hot water. These are like lukewarm jars, so lukewarm water. So we're gonna put our lid on. There is, ooh, there you go. There's a V here that matches a V that's on here. So now we're gonna seal it and we're gonna turn on the heat and then we'll get to the next step. So we're gonna turn the pressure canner on to high on the burner, and we're gonna wait till steam starts coming up out of the vent. Once the steam goes for about 10 minutes consistently, then we can put, let's see if I can find it, our steam vent regulator on, because we're gonna try to get this to 10 pounds of pressure. So let me turn the burner on, we'll get it up, and we'll get it to where it needs to go. Almost forgot to add, if you add a splash of white vinegar, you won't get any white residue on your jars afterwards. Let's put that in quick, we'll put the lid back on, put this on high heat. So what we're waiting for right now is for steam to come out of the vent pipe, and we'll let the steam go for 10 minutes, and that's gonna get all the air out of this. And at that point, we can put our pressure regulator on the vent pipe, and this air vent is going to pop up, which is another security measure to know that this lid is locked and it's not going to blow up on us. So at that point, we'll wait for our pressure to go up. I just double checked our recipe in the book, and let's see if I can get that in focus. Both these we're going to be doing 11 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes. So that's perfect. So all you have to do is wait, waiting for this to heat up. I find usually takes about 15 minutes, so we'll come back to it. By the way, if anyone's curious, we made pork belly burnt ends and smoked chicken today. And that's gonna be a really good lunch. I don't know how well you can see this, but our vent just started steaming. So now I'm starting the timer for 10 minutes. Once that's going for 10 minutes, we'll put our weight on. And then we're gonna start building up to 11 pounds of pressure. When we get to 11 pounds of pressure, that's when we're going to start our 90-minute timer to process these jars. We have a few more minutes to go to let the steam out, but you can notice that our airlock here is sputtering some water. That's totally fine. Once it pops up, that's going to stop. Now, as you can see, our airlock just popped up, which means we do have pressure inside of the pressure canner. No more watering is sputting out, and it's about time to put the weight on. All right, this has been steaming for 10 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and put this weight on here. And that is a 15 PSI weight. So that means if this gets to 15 PSI, it's going to rock back and forth like that. I have been looking online, so there are ones you can buy for like 5 or 10 PSI, so it starts jiggling when you're at that point. Some people like to get that as an easier way to monitor the pressure. What's going to happen is over the next few minutes, I'll start noticing that the pressure is going to be increasing. We're going to get it to 11 PSI. We're going to start our timer for 90 minutes, and then we're going to monitor it so our pressure does not go below and it doesn't go too high. in my experience using this pressure canner, usually it likes to try to go higher when the heat's high, so I have to turn down the heat to maintain 11 pounds of pressure. Here's the thing though, is if it does end up going below 11 pounds of pressure, you gotta bring it back up, start your timer all over again. So keep an eye on them as they go, and I'll check back in when we're at the pressure point we want.
I don't know how well you can see it, but we are at 90 pounds of pressure now. So my job is to maintain that. But we're gonna start our 90-minute timer. And while that's going, we're just gonna keep an eye on it so it maintains the pressure, and you know, it's not really something you set and then like go leave your house. So just check it, like, I don't know, maybe like 5-10 minutes, make sure it's, you know, where it needs to be. When we get to the point where this is done, we're waiting for it to cool down, that's when we're actually gonna start our tomatoes, because it's gonna take a little while for the pressure to come back down afterwards. So when this is all done, I'll see you again and we'll get the tomatoes going.
You can see there we have our pressure, and you can see I have it almost on low to maintain that pressure. So keep an eye on it and you'll be fine. All right, our timer just went off. So here's what we're doing now. We're gonna turn off the heat. We're going to wait. We're gonna wait for the pressure to go down to 0. Our air lock, cover lock is gonna drop. Once that's at 0, we're gonna wait a few minutes, and then we're gonna take our weight off, and then we're gonna wait for it to stop steaming. It's usually about another 10 minutes. So when all that's done, we're gonna come back, I'm gonna open it up, and we'll see what our jars look like. While we wait for that, I'm gonna go get our tomatoes, and we're gonna toss them in the pot. All right, we put all of our tomatoes in this stock pot, and all we're doing is we have it on high, so we're just gonna stir it every few minutes. See, I already stirred it a little bit, so they don't burn on the bottom. And we're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we're gonna simmer it. Once it's at a boil, we're gonna simmer it to get some more of that liquid to evaporate. You don't have to, I like to. Or you can boil it for like 5 minutes and then you're good to can it, but we're gonna get some of the liquid off of it and then we're gonna can it. Ooh, nice and frothy. All right, we're gonna put this down to a simmer. We gotta let it go. We still have some time to wait here. At least another 10-20 minutes, so this is time to cook down a bit. I'm just waiting for the pressure canner to finish cooling, but start packing these jars with tomato sauce because we'll do a pretty quick changeover. So I just went and grabbed some lemon juice. We are going to be adding 2 tablespoons of lemon juice per jar because we are using 4 jars. So I know we're gonna have at least 4. I'll get these ready to go. I'm gonna leave an inch head space on these. They're gonna be good. All right, this is all cooled down, so no more steam's coming out. We're gonna open it up and always tilt the lid away from you. Oh, whoa, we stuck on, there you go. All right, let's put this to the side. Now let's take these jars out. First glance, they don't look broken, so let's see. Check that out. All of our jars are in one piece. It's normal for them to still be boiling at this point, but they'll cool down and they'll stop. And you can see that the meat released its own juices. You can see here with the stew meat, some of it's sitting above its own meat juice. That's totally fine. That's great. So we got 4 jars of meat for the cabinet. Now, let's go put the tomatoes in the pressure canner. All right, we fit 7 jars in here. We actually had enough for 8, but I want to use it. We have some mussels, so I'm going to use that to make some mussels and pasta tonight. So I'm going to do that. So these are hot packed tomatoes. So I'm going to put 3 quarts of hot water in here, and then we're going to pressure can it at 10 pounds of pressure, I think, for like 10 minutes. We won't go through all the steps again, but I will show you what the final product looks like when it's done. All right, the tomatoes are ready. I just took them out of the canner. Do you want to see what they look like? They came out perfect. And they're gonna be boiling a little bit, that's fine. I think they look awesome. Now, of course, you can blanch and peel your tomatoes first. You can run them through to get the seeds out if you have the stuff that you need for that. It doesn't bother us. We like chunky stuff. We can always blend this up and cook more liquid out of it, but it looks awesome. I am thrilled. And you can see our meat's still boiling a little bit, but otherwise lots of good fats in there. So good, successful canning day. Now that we're done canning, I wanted to show you what I did with that basil I picked. Well, there's this focaccia recipe, and I'll put the recipe in the description. It always comes out super thick, so this time I cut it in half. I did basil, tomato, and olives. So I'm super excited to try this out. And I gotta show you what we did with the extra tomatoes left over from canning, but don't those look pretty? I'm really excited to try them. Easy tomato sauce. Just added in some extra stuff. And then I'm gonna toss all those mussels in. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good dinner. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that this was informational for you and helps give you a little bit of a walkthrough if you've never pressure canned before. This is the 4th pressure canning session that I've done. I was super nervous to get one. I thought it was just gonna explode on me, but so far, so good. We'll see you next week for a video. If you want, go to the link in our description. You can follow us on all of our socials. If you want to send us a tip, we do have Venmo and Cash App. Totally up to you. This information is free. Anything that does come in just goes right back into our property or to our chickens. But I hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.